All right, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode, week 2 of the Fantasy Boys football podcast, where I only talk about our fucking league. That's it. Gonna jump right into it with Vibe Check. Vibe this week, a lot better than last week. And last week I was very much like sombering, kind of pouting. We'll get there. I have plenty of pouting to do. But this week seems like the overall vibe is back to business and back to fun. Teams are developing identities, a lot more scoring. We had 8 teams score over 120 points. We had 2 score over 150 points. Top score is 157, beat out Augie at 153. And then it goes down from there. Donald had 138. Mr. Lost with 138. Is that right? Did he change his name to Pittsfall last second? Okay, that was confusing. Mr.'s team name is now Pittsfall. Also, it does look like it's going to be another grinder of a year. Overall, you look at the standings, we have 8 teams at 1-1. There's 2 teams at 2-0, and then there's 2 teams at 0-2. So, you've been in this league for a minute. You know that all it comes down to is getting into the playoffs, and we'll start talking all that kind of stuff as the season goes on. But this is just an early look on what it's like, and we all know it by now. But it's extremely competitive. There's going to be several teams at 2-2, several teams at 3-3, several teams at so on and so on. Several people have won the championship with just getting in at the playoffs. 7-7 records, losing records even, getting into the playoffs and going on to win. Moving on, we have a new segment alert. I wrote some of this shit when I was losing and I didn't think I was going to win going into Nick Chubb and Michael Thomas only needing to score 22 points on Monday night. But here we are. I won that game. But I do still feel like this segment is important because I feel like it's always going to apply. I bitch about everything. The segment is called BP Complaining Corner. This is where it's my podcast and I just get to just complain about whatever. I get to complain about how the league's being mean to me. I get to complain about my team. I get to complain about how they played, whatever. So this week we're going to talk, and maybe you guys can relate because everyone's having injury issues, but the injuries are just out of fucking control right now. And my team specifically, Saquon Barkley, Cooper Kupp, Joe Burrow might not play. It might be fucking the guy that played at Washington, Jake fucking somebody. Christian Watson's still hurt. Haven't gotten to play him yet. He might play this week. Brandon Cooks is out. Just down the line, I can't do anything. And I'm trying to be as positive as everyone constantly tells me to be. It's like, don't blow it up, don't panic, don't do this. But it's just ridiculous. And no one else is going to really feel bad for me. You know what? My wife doesn't even feel bad for me. I talked to her. She didn't even want to hear me complain anymore. I tried, well, how your team's doing or whatever. And she's like, and I'm like, oh, it's bad. Cooper Kupp's hurt. This and that. And she's like, well, weren't all those guys hurt going into the season? I said, shut the fuck up. That doesn't help me. Yeah, they all had extreme injury risk going into the year. Yes. Did I ignore it all and draft them anyways? Yes. Very, very annoying. The fact that my own wife doesn't even want to just give me the pity. But then it translates because I go into the group message, I complain, I talk, And everyone kind of, they're just like, dude, we're fighting our own injury battles. And I get that. I understand everyone's got the same issues. Anyways, that's the segment. I got a little bit of time to complain about my current situation. Now, it would have been a lot more. I'm still in trouble, guys. I won and I beat Peeler, but I'm still in massive trouble. My roster is terrible right now, currently as it sits. Now, I could look forward and say, 3 weeks from now, I could have Saquon back, Cooper Kupp back, Christian Watson's playing good football, and I could be okay. Joe Burrow turns it on. Like, there's those talks that I could have with myself, and I just need to steal a few wins in the meantime. But it's still, it doesn't necessarily feel good as I sit. Gossip segment. Now, this week was a little light on the gossip, other than the fact that me and Donald just started up a new beef out of nowhere. It started off of last week where we argued on Sunday Night Football, Monday Night Football, that Josh Allen was playing like shit. I talked a little bit about in the last episode where I said, like, when you're feeling yourself, you just say whatever you want. Josh Allen's better than, or Dak Prescott's better than Josh Allen. And it's definitely grown from there. And I do keep saying he's feeling himself, but like he is. The way his attitude and tone is that talks about anything. When you're 2-0 and, he's fucking dominating right now. He's dominating and he is feeling himself. And if he says he's not feeling himself, he's a fucking liar. He knows he's feeling himself, and that's all I was trying to say. And now he's definitely taken his turn on the let's be mean to Brandon thing. That's okay. I have fought with pretty much every single person in this entire GM. And Donald, usually me and him get along great. It's fine. It's just a little patch we're in. We're going to get through it. It's all love. I love the guy. And I don't think anything's super serious. I think it's just more, we're literally going at each other's neck for anything and everything that somebody says in the group message. So, aside from, I think it started from fantasy, which is why I'm featuring it on the gossip segment. I need something to talk about and put it in here. Fantasy wise, he is a wagon, and I'm still not like completely in love with his team, but it's performing extremely well. So, congrats to Donald going 2-0. Moving on the segment. Now, I also said last week that Augie's team was the most boring team of all time. And he went and the very next week almost gets high score. He was high score up until last night when Austin took him over. But I literally just called him a boring team, and he went and did that. And I mean, his team performed very well. Every single player, 25, 20, 25, 25, 25. And like his lowest scoring guy was like 18 points. It was very impressive. And it just goes to show more and more that I know nothing. And I know not shit what I'm talking about. So hope that maybe you're featured on that most boring team of all time. I could say that about, Braden's team still. He won, but meh, boring. So you're welcome for next week. Obviously, he's got to be talked about in the gossip segment. Peeler trading for Nick Chubb, and then the very first time he gets to play him, a quarter in, when he needs him to perform and score to win a lead. Now, also, he was going to score a touchdown that drive. And bigger issues aside, he would have gotten that touchdown and he would have won this week. But he got graphically, horribly, one of the worst injuries I've ever seen. I was told it was bad on the TV and I didn't see it because I missed it. And then I happened to be scrolling Twitter and it just popped up, and most gruesome injury I've ever seen. So obviously that needs to be talked about. I'm very sorry that happened to you. I don't have to necessarily feel too bad with the injury issues I'm dealing with, but you never want to really win that way. I will take it. Sorry. Peeler versus Mr. Next week. They're both 0-2. That's good. Should be pretty hard to come back from 0-3. Now, I just talked about in the beginning of this episode how, you can get in with a losing record. So I wouldn't say you're out, but Peeler's team looks very, very gruesome right now. It looks as bad as Nick Chubb's knee. His roster altogether looks terrible now that Nick Chubb is out of it. It looked pretty bad with Nick Chubb in it. But also he did that weird thing where he put Nick Chubb at his flex. So the roster looked awful, and then you're like, oh, Nick Chubb's on his team. Oh, okay. But dude, just put him at your starting one and run, because he's your best player on your team. I don't know. That annoys me. I go through the rosters all the time, and I'm like, I don't know. Maybe it doesn't matter at all. Mr. being 0-2 is pretty wild. I think his team has done very well, and his team looks good, and I think everyone's pretty much like, oh, his team's legit, especially with the 3 good running backs that he has now. We'll talk a little bit about that later. But him being 0-2 is one of those I guess it makes sense not to hit the panic button, because he's obviously, I think, going to be okay. He gets 2 easy games going in. He gets Peeler and then me, super get right situation. He's sitting at 2-2 in about 3 weeks from now. So the trade segment. Now, obviously, this segment will only be featured if there's a trade. There happened to be 2 pretty mega trades this week. Right after this podcast last week, I went and traded for traded away Patrick Mahomes and Rashee Rice, worthless player. And I got back in return Joe Burrow, Javonte Williams, and oh boy, that was it. I think I want to say I got somebody else, but I don't think I did. Basically, that was the nuts and bolts of it. Now, the reason I bring this up, other than that I'm going to talk about it because I had nothing else to talk about, is I believe at the core of every single human that plays fantasy football, you want to talk about your trade from your point of view, and you want to explain. But here's the problem, is that nobody ever cares about your team. Nobody ever fucking cares about your team, your trade, your reasoning. They only just care about theirs, and they may want to talk down about it, but they don't really want to discuss it. Now that we're doing this podcast, I'm going to open the floor that every single trade that goes on in this league, I want to discuss it. I want to break it down. I want to hear both sides. So I'm going to give my side of the trade, and then Peeler is going to give his side of the trade. Now, I did reach out to Peeler for comment over text. Now, maybe not enough time, so we'll see. Maybe I'll insert it if it comes in a late submission, but I did reach out to Peeler for comment, and there has been no comment. Peeler. Why would I say Peeler? Jared. I reached out to Jared for this, and he has not commented back. Sorry, I messed that up. I'm not good enough at the thing to go back and edit and cut and do all that, so pretend I said Jared there. I did reach out to Jared. Jared did not say anything back at this time. He did lose, but I don't think our trade had anything to do with it whatsoever. I think he's still very happy with his trade. In his eyes, he turned Alexander Madison, and Joe Burrow and Javonte into Patrick Mahomes and Keenan Allen. Those are two very studly players. And if you play the game where you're saying, did I get the most talented player in the trade? He won that. And that's been Jared's game. If you know, if you can go back to 6 years ago or 7 years ago, whenever that trade was, Jared only wants the big name guys. And sometimes the performance has nothing to do with what Jared wants in a trade. He's always going to want the big name player. So at least that's how I approach trading with him. And obviously I was able to pull off that trade because I knew he would want Patrick Mahomes. Now you may say, why did you trade Patrick so early? You could have probably held him and traded him. Someone's going to want Patrick. I agree with that. Here's my problem, though, is I had A.J. Dillon as my only other running back in addition to Saquon, and I really, really needed a running back. I believe in Javonte Williams as a running back in this league. I still think he's coming back from an injury, but he's still getting all the carries. Samaje Perine, done. He is not a guy that I'm worried about at all. And Javonte's getting all the work. He's had a couple long carries. I'm still happy with Javonte. I'd like to see, I think his offense is just pretty poor right now. And I still believe that it's going to be okay. And I also think that obviously Patrick's better than Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow is going to hopefully, if he doesn't stink, come within about 5-6 points of Patrick every week. He should. He has the talent to, and he has the receivers to. So my idea behind that is I'm going to downgrade a little bit at quarterback, still have somebody pretty good, and then be able to add a running back. It was just basically a 2-for-1. So now that Saquon is hurt, having Javonte is at least something. He's not very good. He's not the best, but I would have probably panicked even harder this week now that Saquon is out. Anyways, so Jared, I'm pretty much commenting for him. I think he fucking crushed it. I think he got the stud. And if you look at his roster is pretty fucking loaded. So I think he nailed it on that thing. Now, the other trade that happened was between Peeler and Braden. Peeler and Braden, they did a trade of Travis Kelce basically for Nick Chubb. But I think the other pieces here are the most important part. Other than Nick Chubb getting hurt, so this trade really sucks for Peeler. Chubb and Higbee for Gabe Davis, Travis Kelce, and Robert Woods. Robert Woods kind of irrelevant because now in Houston, they've got the other two receivers, Tank Dell and Nico Collins, both balling. Robert Woods kind of seems like an afterthought, but fucking CJ Stroud looking real good right now. I did reach out to Braden for comment on it, and now it's a little lengthy, but I'm going to go ahead and breeze through it because it's very eloquently put. He gives a little bit of before the injury and after the injury thoughts. First off, I'd like to offer a public apology to Kyle Peeler and Team Dumpster Fire for the meme and comments made in the group chat this morning. That was not a reflection of who we are and how we run things at Team I Said Mike Evans. We've placed our GM on administrative leave until Thursday night game. Doubt it. He'll still be talking. Secondly, I feel like the Chubb for Kelce trade put me in a decent spot going into week 2 with Kamara coming back and possibly JT. With the team I drafted, I was well aware that the first couple weeks would be a grind for me and was hoping I could squeak out a win or two before they came back. Lastly, you hate to see a good player's season end early, especially after trading him away. Kyle's team has taken a couple devastating blows already, but in the words of that old hockey scout in Happy Gilmore, better luck next year. He also apologized for it being pretty long, but I appreciate it. Now, I did reach out to Peeler for comment on the trade, and like I expected, he has not commented at this time. So quick breakdown on that trade. Obviously, it sucks for Peeler because Nick Chubb obviously got hurt. I think his biggest thing was like, dude, you also traded for Gabe Davis, and you probably could have squeaked him into that lineup somehow. I don't know. Like if he didn't play Josh Kelly and put Gabe Davis in there, a little dicey, but that would have been able to pull off a win. But how can you go for that big trade and then not play, your guys? Gabe Davis looked good week 1, kind of. I think he got enough targets, too, that you probably could have squeaked him in this lineup this week. So, moving on, next segment, we have, and I do hope moving forward that maybe with the trade segment, we could maybe do videos, and I could crop them and put them in this, and everyone can kind of explain their side of the trade. I think that's important. To this whole process. I love explaining my trade. I just need somebody to listen to it. So this next segment is the best game. I think talking about every single week matchup gets a little boring. I did that last year, and I can if everyone wants it, but basically it just turns into just me going on the website and reading word for word. I'm gonna start off this, maybe highlight a game or two. This week I'm just gonna highlight one game. Let me take a little quick break here. Best game, we're gonna give a little detailed breakdown of it. I believe the best game this week was, and there was 3 games going into Monday night that were decided by Monday night, including mine, including Austin and Misters, and lastly, what was the last one? Oh, Donald and Zach. Got a little close, but that one kind of never had a shot. Anytime you got a quarterback going and you have the lead, you should be okay. Even Deshaun Watson played pretty bad last night. But anyways, moving on, sorry. The best game this week is Austin and Mister. Both teams scored outstanding points, and it came down right to the very end, holding on. The defense ended up getting it done for him. Neck and neck through the morning games, both around 90 points. Like late morning. So that's like a phenomenal morning of scoring. Very consistent all the way through. Back and forth, lead change. I think I counted it. I think it was like 8 lead changes in the morning. Just back and forth. Bam, 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 bam. And then Christian Kirk scored a 45-yard touchdown for Austin. Shot him up. Okay? Then Geno scores. Boom. Lead change again. Then Folk scores. Lead change again. Then Geno again. Then Kyron goes off. He had his first touchdown because now we're in the later games. I think scores twice. So then Mister took a pretty damn good lead. Now Austin's complaining. He's like, "What the fuck?" Mister picked up the best running backs. Now all of a sudden Mister has the top 3 running backs, and now he has the best 2 running backs. Like, what the fuck is happening here? And going into Monday night, down 25. Austin is the only guy who has people going. He has Chris Olave and a Steelers defense, and I think that's it. But ends up getting it done. All the way to the last thing. Scores the top score. Like, that is just how you fucking do it. You have high points, and from beginning to end, you put together an outstanding week. Top scorer of the week is Austin. Let me double check because that feels wrong. It is Austin. And congratulations to Austin for top score. You beat a very good performance at doing it, which is even more impressive. Anytime you score top score. And also from Mr. standpoint, when you lose to the top score, that stings. So all in all, that was a very fun matchup to watch. It was a very fun matchup to break down. I was going through. I don't know if anybody's ever been on the website, but on the website they have this stupid chart thing, and I've always clicked out of it and said this is stupid. But for the first time, I found its worthiness as I'm trying to kind of go through and figure out how this matchup went down. And I remember just checking the scores and being like, oh, Mister's up. Oh, Austin's up. Oh, Mister's up. But this is kind of cool because it gives you the exact timeline, and you can see it goes, it bounces, bounce, 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 bounce. So I thought it was pretty cool. Anybody wants to check that out, feel free. Next segment is called the Zach start of the week. It was the bad start of the week, but we're dubbing it and we're renaming it into the Zach start of the week because I have a feeling he's going to be featured on this weekly. How do you spend $70 on a guy, go completely broke in your fab money, and then not play him? It's crazy. You're not that loaded, dude. You're not that loaded. At that point, with what he did week 1, and you can say he was injured or not. Like, dude, he was injured on practice. But when a guy is going to play, you can't still be talking about injuries and as a reason why. Like, check the fucking stats in the morning. Check the injury report in the morning. And if it says he's going to play, that means the injury risk is very low at that point. I don't know. Like, they're not going to let him play if he's not hurt. I could be wrong on that, and you guys could probably feel a different way about that. But if he's going to play, he's going to fucking play. And that means the show goes on. So fucking play him. Let me click it. Like honestly, the only guy that going into the week, you shouldn't have played him over is Tyreek Hill. Drake London should not have been. Now, Drake London played good, but should not, after last week, should not have been decided to say, I'm going to play Drake London over Puka Nacua. Cooper Cup, excuse me. It's insane. And then over Breece Hall. I get it. But Miles Sanders, if you needed to play Breece Hall so bad, Miles Sanders wasn't a fucking cake matchup either. He didn't do anything the week before. I don't know. I felt like a better decision should have been made by you. And it would have just get Puka in the fucking lineup. That's it. That's all you needed to do. And you would have won this week with him, obviously. That's without a given because Breece Hall fucking stunk. Playing against the Cowboys defense? What are you thinking, dude? And I know I said Breece Hall was a bad no start from you last week. But I don't know. It deserves it only because you spent the money. Now, if you would have just gotten lucky with him at some low points and he would have been, but he was like the hottest fucking commodity. Every podcast, everything I've listened to last week was like Puka Nacua, pick him up. And you did that part. And you spent all your fab money and then didn't play him. It's very frustrating because God damn it, I spent 65 or I bidded 65. I didn't spend it because it fucking sucked. And that's another thing. I spent 65 on him, didn't get him, and I bid 45 for Kyren Williams. Obviously, doing the math, if you spend 65 and 45, like I wouldn't have been able to pick up both players. But I had him 1 and 2 thinking, all right, and this is, so I check the emails in the morning as like part of my morning poops, and sometimes I forget about the waivers clearing. It's like 3:30 in the morning. I just check the notifications and they're my emails. So I click on the first one and it said like your waiver request for Kyren Williams didn't go through. Some team had a higher bid. Like, okay, that means, or I thought maybe, oh, that means I got Puka then for sure. So then I click on that one, I didn't get that. I'm like, fuck. So then I look and I was like, oh my God, I just missed him. And that sucks. That's a bad feeling. So side note, that sucked for me. I should have just trusted my gut and went all in because I knew Puka was going to be the guy at least for 4 more weeks. We'll figure it out once Cooper Kupp gets back. But I don't see how the Rams don't just keep fucking hyper targeting this guy the same way he does with Cooper Kupp. I also have on here Braden picking up Deion Jackson after I talked so much shit about him last week being the most awful football player in the world, and Zach Moss being a good pickup for Mister. I know we don't listen to me. I understand that. But I thought that was pretty sound advice. Deion Jackson is a terrible fucking football player. Not only did you pick him up, you started him in your lineup over anybody. It's not even who you could have picked up anybody on the waiver wire. It would have been better than Deion Jackson. So that is a bad Zach start of the week for Braden. Justice Hill, you spent money on Justice Hill. And then you pick up Deion Jackson and then start Deion Jackson over Justice Hill or the waiver wire. That's a Zach start of the week. Bad start. And then Zach Moss goes off. So Kyle Peeler, I touched on this a little earlier. I thought Josh Kelly was a bad start. On the morning, it was making me real nervous what you were going to do. Whether you were going to play Najee Harris or that. Najee Harris really bailed you out because fuck is he pitiful. He is the worst starting running back. Hot take. I understand. This is not going to go well. Najee Harris is the worst starting running back that has a solidified starting role. Not somebody that's starting currently, but he is a solidified starter for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And he is fucking terrible. They need to cut him. They need to move on from him because he will never be good. And I don't think he's ever good. Fuck, I hate him. But you chose to go with Josh Kelly and Madison over getting in like Gabe Davis. So I felt like that was kind of a bad start. It deserves you a little something on this segment. And then lastly, Nico Collins again, bad drop for me. He is a stud there. I think he has the most targets in the league. Either he's first or second next to Puka. I heard that somewhere, but I'm pretty sure Nico Collins is like the most targeted player in the league. And that's embarrassing that I dropped him on a team that I really need somebody. So features here. That's it. That's all I have to say. Hopefully I didn't ruffle too many feathers today. I will be getting a video from Dakota tonight, who was the low scorer. He only scored 90 points in a pathetic effort, and he will be sending us a video, and I will tag it to the end of this. That's it, boys. Thank you very much. Talk to you later.
How's it going, fellas? You know why I'm here. Loser of the week, week 2. BP asked me to make this dumb video. So I guess this is what we have to do from now on. Hopefully this is my last time here. So not that you asked, but we'll get into it. I had the shittiest team this week. We scored 90. 90 is just average. Didn't get it done, and that's credit to the league. You guys are scoring a lot of points now. Besides, I think Brandon and Kyle, everybody scored over 100. So they're balling out. But if 90 is my floor, I'm not too worried about it. We just had a bad week. I played Braden. We'll go back to Thursday. He had Jalen Hurts going. I decided to make a bold move, play DeAndre Swift after he put up pretty much a donut in week 1. But Kenneth Gainwell was hurt, and he seized his opportunity. So it was pretty much a wash. Jalen scored 25. DeAndre Swift scored 27. And then BP hit me with a good start, and that was it for the rest of my team. We pretty much scored single digits the rest of the way. So, Trevor Lawrence with a 9. Didn't throw a touchdown. He completed 4 passes, but their feet weren't in bounds. So, it was encouraging that they could have scored, but that's the way it went against the Chiefs this week. Same with Travis Etienne. He had cramps, and he goes as Trevor Lawrence goes. So there'll be better days ahead. And then my pass catchers. It was pretty much game script this week. So a floor game for Diggs. He scored 13. Buffalo was up big on the Raiders. So Didn't get to see a lot of second half work. Same with Michael Pittman. I mean, Colts were up 28 to like 3 or something on the Texans, so just didn't get a lot of looks after that. George Kittle, I mean, I think the days are gone where he's no longer a 15 to 25 guy. He's going to be a 5 to 15 guy with just the amount of mouths they have to feed now in San Francisco. So we'll just probably have to ride it out. He's not going to win me games, but he might not lose me games either. Jerry Jeudy with a 5. You know, the first pass of the game went to him. I was stoked. And then Russell didn't look his way the rest of the game. I mean, they were up 21 to 3 first quarter or something like that. But I think Russ only had 10 passes completed by the fourth quarter, and then all of a sudden they're down. And then he, throws 8 passes at the end of the game. So his stats are kind of skewed, but still, it'll be encouraging to get him more work in the future. So, I mean, I did have a bad week this week, but on my bench I have players that I can swap out. We can change it up. It's still September, early in the year, still trying to figure out my team. Deontay Johnson on the IR kind of sucks, but we'll weather the storm. I mean, I got Scary Terry there. I can always plug him out for Jerry Jeudy or Michael Pittman, however you want to change him out. I mean, I'll die on that hill that I'd rather have the depth of guys not knowing who's going to pop off than relying on one guy. Like if I'm BP and I got to hope that fucking Cortland Sutton goes off, or I don't know who his other guy is, but yeah, that'll be rough. Dallas Goedert's on the bench. Gus Bus, we can switch in there. I'm not sure if DeAndre Swift will hold on to that number 1 spot, but we'll see. And we'll see with Jerome Ford. I don't know if I want to necessarily start him, but we'll see if he can hold on to it if they sign someone else. But the real winner here is Braden. I mean, you can ask him probably Sunday, 11:30, 12 o'clock. You ask him, he's pissed. I got him dead in the water. It's only Jalen Hurts with 25. Deion Jackson had 0. D-Hop had 0. Tyler Lockett had a handful. Kelsey had 0. Mike Williams had a few, I think. Riley Patterson only had 3. So he was pissed for sure. And second half comes around, his teams are in comeback mode, and he starts popping off. D-Hop caught a couple passes at the end of the game. Tyler Lockett, obviously we know, questionable holding call, but he caught the game winner in overtime. Travis Kelce got his. I knew he was going to get his. And Mike Williams at the end of that game too caught a few passes in overtime. And Riley Patterson, I mean, he kicked the field goal to tie the game to go into overtime. So good for him. I mean, that's why we played 4 quarters. I mean, in Braden's case, he played 5. So he had a lot of players that for the game, 4 players from 2 of those games, went into overtime. So you play who's in front of you. I'm not making any excuses. But yeah, that's just how it went this week. But looking forward, I'll be all right. I know there are teams whose rosters are looking pretty bleak right now. So this will probably be hopefully my last time in this spot. So we'll see. There are other teams for sure that they know. So I think that's about it. Just want to say thanks Brandon for cursing my team. He cursed his own team. Joey Burrow with the calf. Saquon with the ankle injury now. Cup, even when he comes back from IR, it's not like he's going to get all those targets right away. He's going to still split with Puka. Like, BP's not going to show it, but he's in shambles right now. He's hurt. If you look at his roster, it stinks. And I might just fuck around and spend 62 on Matt Breida just to piss him off. But he said, where are the haters at? I mean, he's looking at a couple of wins this year. So we'll see. Anyways, boys, that's all I got for tonight. Good luck this week. And don't forget to smash that like and subscribe button. And we'll see you in the next one. Peace.